I can think of many choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to be right back after these short messages. Don't touch that iPod. All right, we're back to Breathe, and now it's time for a segment we like to call Weird News.
Weird News.
Hot off the press from 1996.
Yes!
In a federal court in Boston in July of 1996, Philip W. Capella, who was 34 years old at the time, was sentenced to 2 years probation for tax fraud. He won the Massachusetts Megabucks lottery, and Capella attempted to evade income tax on the first of his $135,000 annual payments by falsely claiming gambling losses of $65,000 to offset much of the income. When faced with an IRS audit, Capella paid a lottery ticket collector, a guy that collects lottery tickets.
Oh, a lot of those out there.
He paid this guy $500. He rented a truck and went and picked them all up. $200,000 old losing lottery tickets that he tried to pass off as his own, as a way of saying, these are my gambling debts right here. But he bought them.
Busted. It didn't work. Wow, what a surprise.
Yeah.
Jeez. Well, here's the weird thing. I've seen so many stories. Everybody dreams of winning the lottery, haven't you?
Yeah. And I said I'd give it all away, but...
Yeah, right. I mean, I have. I was like, yeah, what would I do if I won, $50 million? Yeah. Well, most of the time, I mean, not most of the time, but a lot of the time, a lot of people win the lottery and it ruins their lives. I mean, it's so bizarre. But what you think would be a dream come true turns out for many to be their worst nightmares. I remember seeing a story about one guy who won this enormous jackpot, and his wife divorced him immediately so she could have half the winnings.
Wow.
For other people, their family turns on them. Their close family, brothers, sisters, uncles. All of a sudden, everybody's trying to get, basically, suck their blood, take all their money away. And so it breaks up the family. There's people who end up going to prison. This guy's on probation, but I know there's been people who've gone to prison, because they blew all the money and they ruined their lives.
Greed is an evil thing. It can sometimes seem that sin is unavoidable and that temptation is irresistible. So what chance do we really have anyway? I mean, why would we, try to avoid sin when
it can seem like that.
Yeah, when we're going to sin anyway. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, "No temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out, so that you can stand up underneath it."
Yeah, there is a way of escape. We may feel like, oh, I can't resist. There's just no way. But actually, the Bible says it right there. God's going to make a way of escape. One of the ways to escape, if you're listening out there and you're like, I don't know what to do, is to be ready for temptation. It's to know, you know what your temptations are. I mean, everybody does. And so it may be happening every day, certain temptations, And so the Bible talks about fleeing temptation, being ready to book. Run away! So it's not like, oh, you get... Right, exactly. Be ready to run away. I mean, so that when the temptation comes, you're not like, oh, I don't know. I mean, is it really that bad? No, you're just like, no, absolutely not right. You book, you take off. So you have to have your fire escape. It's like a fire escape plan. Like my kids, I saw them outside today, outside their school, because they had a fire drill. And so they're all outside, and it's cold, and they don't have their coats on, but they're doing a fire drill. They're ready if there's a real fire. It's the same thing with us in temptation. We have to have an accountability plan. Because if we play with fire, we're going to get burned. Mm-hmm. It's like when the alarms start going off in your head, like, uh-oh, red alert. So don't, hey, it looks like fire, it smells like fire, but hey, maybe it's really great. Maybe it's not fire, Sometimes we can have that feeling. But, we all have our temptations that seem to have such strength in our lives. Other ones, they're not so strong. Like, for me, I'm not going to, knock off a liquor store.
Really?
Right. That's not like a big temptation for me. Like, I could get tempted in that and be like, no big deal. That's not a big one for me. For some people, it's food, though. Like they can't like if you put a chili dog in front of them,
Twinkies.
or Twinkie, right? They're going to eat it.
Yeah.
In fact, they may not even chew.
You know those little Debbie Swiss
inhale
cake
it.
rolls?
Yeah.
I
Little
eat
Debbie.
like a box at a time. That's pretty
wow.
bad. So that can be, for me.
Yeah, for you, that could be it. For some, it's alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
They can't, touch it or smell it. They can't get near it. For some people, it's getting plastic surgery. Like
Botox.
Right.
I love Botox.
Right.
Botox is awesome. Botox is the best.
Is that why your face doesn't move?
Michael Jackson's my hero.
No, you can see it on YouTube. His face doesn't move. Now, my weakness growing up and being exposed to things like this, and even in my home when I was a kid, was porn. Like a lot of men, maybe even most men, pornography is like crack. It's not something you just mess around with. It's like addictive. It's just as addictive as like a heroin or, something like that. Now, I've never even tried drugs, ever. Nothing. Except for coffee, which is like Christian crank.
Coffee, I'm in.
It's different. Or actually, we were drinking Mountain Dew right up to the show. So
I love Mountain Dew.
that explains my enthusiasm. But look, I've never used drugs, but the neurons firing off in my brain and the chemical reactions percolating in my body and my, nervous system or whatever, it's just as powerful as an addictive substance, like a chemical thing, when it could be some image, some graphic image. And here's what I learned about temptation. In this area, or any area, actually, Satan comes at you when you're weak.
Mm-hmm.
He comes at you when you're sad, when you're tired, when you're stressed out, things aren't going bad. That's the time when you got to go, oh, hold on. Temptation may be coming. And usually if you know what your temptation is, you can go, well, I'm going to stay away from this or that. I'm not even going to go near that store or that 7-Eleven where the Twinkies are. Whatever it is.
When you're vulnerable.
Yeah, when you're vulnerable. Exactly.
Definitely.
And you have to be on your guard at all times when you're vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is really great. She's somebody that helps me be accountable. And she puts blocks, actually for the whole family. She blocks all the bad channels. Anything that's R rating, mature rating, whether it's on a kid's TV, kind of living room or in our bedroom. There's no way to access that stuff because there's a code. So there's no way to get in. I mean, that's a smart way that, she's protecting me and my kids. I appreciate that.
I need a lock on the Swiss cake box roll thing. I need a lock so that I don't get into the Swiss cake rolls. And eat them
Okay,
all.
the little Debbie's. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I love this.
Duct tape the box for you. Yeah, I have friends who also have trouble with like the internet. There's a lot of temptation on the internet, obviously. And so they use some great tools for accountability that I want to let everybody know about. Because if this is you, there's a lot of guys out there feeling so much shame and, embarrassment and just feel sick inside and horrible. And they want to be pure, but they can't, or they feel like they can't. Here's a way of escape right here.